Hi, I'm Robert from Bishop's Family Cycles here in Victoria and our shop in Vancouver. And today we're going to talk a little bit about teens, and with that would come kids on e-bikes specifically, but we're going to touch a little bit on those scooters that you may see kids on. We're here in Canada, and in Canada, the provinces are who regulate e-bikes. Just this past year, BC updated their code around bicycles and e-bikes, and they changed the way e-bikes are classified here in BC. In North America, you may have heard of the class system, so class 1, 2, and 3. E-bikes are classed that way to be sold in North America by most manufacturers. BC no longer recognizes class 1, 2, or 3. Generally, class 1 and 2 got combined here. So class 3, those are the fast. They call them speed pedelecs in Europe, but they're the fast e-bikes, and they've always been illegal here in BC for any sort of road use. Class 1 was a bike that could assist up to 32 kilometers an hour, but did not have a throttle. And class 2 was the same, but had a throttle. Now that's just called an e-bike in BC. Those two have been pushed together, and the regulation around that generally is you can't have continuous power of more than 500 watts, and you cannot exceed an assisted speed of 32 kilometers an hour. That's the basics. What BC did do though is they introduced something called a light e-bike. And a light e-bike is something that a teenager could ride. Now they've lowered the age to ride an e-bike to 14, but 14 to 16 can only ride what's called a light e-bike here in BC. And light e-bikes really are a European e-bike. Those e-bikes can only assist to 25 kilometers an hour. They can only have a maximum continuous power of 250 watts, and they cannot have throttle-only mode. And so if you were to import an e-bike from Europe today, in BC, a teenager from 14, 15, or 16 could ride that. If you are looking to buy an e-bike here in BC though, manufacturers aren't going to make a BC-only bike unless they're based here in BC. And so it's important to think about, if you're buying your teen a bike, what bike you're looking at. And so the nice part about the bikes we sell is if you wanted to buy a light e-bike, you could buy an e-bike that we could turn down the maximum speed on. And then after they turn 16, we could actually adjust that again. And so you would have the ability to have, both bikes. Generally, the reason they don't want teens riding throttle e-bikes is because throttles are a really easy way to get to an unsafe speed without realizing the consequences. I think for any user, it's important to understand the risks of a throttle, but especially for those younger users who may not have any driving experience or road experience, to be able to have to pedal to get to speed allows you to have a more plugged in feeling of the speed you're going, and the acceleration and deceleration happens in a more natural way. Other things to know about teens on e-bikes is it's actually illegal for teens to ride electric kick scooters. So this is not videos about electric kick scooters, but I see lots of 12 and 13-year-olds on these kick scooters, and you actually have to be 16 to ride them in BC. And that's actually in lots of places around North America. Those scooters can go very fast, and kids can also modify them to go even faster. E-bikes can be very similar. It's tempting to buy a very cheap e-bike online for your teen because you don't want to spend that extra money. But you need to understand that those e-bikes can go significantly faster than they should for their age group, and they would be illegal in the province of BC. Last piece here is cargo bikes can be ridden by a teen if they are speed limited, but that teen cannot carry passengers until 16. At 14, I could ride any bike that meets these requirements of a light e-bike, even if they can carry passengers. I just can't carry passengers with it. After 16, then I am allowed to carry the passengers, but only as the bike is designed, just like any cargo bike here in BC. Other things to talk about your teen would be understanding that they might be able to ride up things that they wouldn't normally get to. So when you have an e-bike, you can put yourself in situations with your bicycle that you may not have gotten into before. So oftentimes a very steep hill or very rough terrain, that's self-restricting because I go to ride up it and I'm exhausted. Going up that hill is one thing, but coming down is another thing to understand, and you could end up in a more dangerous situation. And so having all these conversations with your teen is important, right? If you're gonna put them on an e-bike, which I think is something that can be great, e-bikes can really shrink distances. And if you live in a place where it's just out of reach for your team to ride their traditional bicycle, but they want to have that independence of commuting on their own, a light e-bike, I think, is a really great thing, and I think it can be great for teens to do. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for tuning in about teens on e-bikes, and very specifically here in BC, the different e-bike classifications. Teens can only ride that light e-bike, so remember, if you are going to buy your teen an e-bike, you need to understand that your bike shop will likely have to modify it for your teen, or you'll have to buy something very specific for them. We've got other videos that talks about different motors, and you can see some of those below.